Hey friends, I am still feeling a little better, so we are going to try and get through the rest of these messages with Nick's one side piece and then move on to the other one, depending on how much longer these go on for. I feel like we're about through this one lady, but we'll see. Okay, to start where we left off again. Nick was questioning her and wanting her to explain why she likes him always being a kid at heart. And he's just being really demanding about it, wanting her to always immediately answer, give a last word, something or other. And she's getting frustrated. She says, "What do you want me to say? I'm trying." And Nick says, "I want you to tell me the truth because, unlike others, I expect it and can handle it. Is what I want you to tell me the truth." Megan says, "The truth is, I wish I could have you back again, but I know it won't happen." And Nick says, "That's obvious, but that wasn't what we were trying to talk about. All right, if you don't know why you like that I'll always be a kid at heart, then I guess you don't know yourself well enough." Megan says, "Sadly, you're right." Nick says, yeah, that is sad." I think he meant, oh, yeah, sad. He corrected himself down here. Megan says, "Yep, sad and depressing." And then Megan says, "I just don't know what to do anymore." Nick says, "About what?" She says, "Everything." Nick says, wow, and that would be a turnoff for me since I always love my women to know what they want to do in life and such, but okay." Good God, he's so rude to her. Anyway, moving on. Megan says, "Yep, guess everyone hates me in this world no matter what I do." Nick says, "Megan, no one hates you. If everyone hated you by now, you would be dead. But you don't realize this." Good fucking God. Oh, my Lord. Okay, Megan says, "Maybe I should be. That's how I felt. I've been Maybe I should be DEAD. That's how I feel. I've been severely depressed." I'm trying to be careful because we're really early in the video, and sometimes YouTube doesn't like too many words like that early on in the video, friends. I apologize that we have to make things so ridiculous by using pretend words and spelling things out, but I like being able to do the donations, and if they take away the monetization, then that seriously goes down. Okay, anyway, Nick says, "Speak up. Tell me why you are feeling so depressed, Megan. If you want to be heard, you have to speak up and open up, or those who want to hear you speak won't know what is going on without you speaking it." Megan says, "I've been depressed because nobody wants to be me, lost a friendship. All she ever cares about is her boyfriend. She refuses to talk to me. I have no true friends. I've been ready to have a boyfriend. I've changed. Nobody sees that." And then Megan says, "I'm crying as we speak." Nick says, and there you go again. If you didn't have any true friends, I wouldn't be talking to you right now, Megan. So don't say you don't have any true friends. And besides, with everything you have put me through, you're lucky I am still talking to you, but it's mainly because I am headstrong and can handle BS the way that friends can't handle it. Fiends can't handle it, is what he actually said, but I know he meant to write friends. Okay. Megan says, "You're right. I'm thankful you're my friend. I'm still depressed. Nobody wants to love me like I want to love them." Nick says, "Megan, if I wasn't happily in the relationship I am right now, you would probably be with me because everyone else I have been with has disappeared out of my life, even though you always seem to find a way back into it. There is one other ex that does the same, but that is it. You and one other ex, even though I treated all my exes as queens in my eyes. But yeah, I guess that is just how it is. Only a selected number of them are thankful. I treated them well, and well as I did before they was to follow me similar to how you are." That was interesting. He started shortening them to M, EM. I treated him well. Like, I don't know. It just felt like he had an energy shift there, like he was trying to be different. Oh, this poor girl. Megan says, "You treated me like a queen and I fucked it up letting you go like I did. I'm a SLUTCUNTHORESLUT to most guys, but you never called me that. I will never be with you. I had my chance and I screwed it up." I hope this girl has some self esteem now and is doing good and happy, friends. Nick says, Megan, I disagree with you. If you didn't truly feel that you were ever going to be with me, you wouldn't follow me like you do. And what do you mean? You are what she described herself as to most guys. And because I asked that, obviously means I care. So don't be shy to go into detail about that, Megan. Megan says, this is how I feel. I'm depressed, hurt, and heartbroken, and I wish I could have you back. I never say that about my exes, but you are definitely different than any of them. You're amazing, kind, sweet, loving, a king. Everything I have dreamed of and thought about. I wish it wasn't the end between us. Nick says, Megan, tell me the answer to the question I asked. I want to know why you called yourself what you did. I mean, yes, I am aware that I did catch you cheating on me, but is there more to this than I may be aware of, Megan? Megan says, yep, I wish I never cheated on you after you left me when you found out I almost KILLED myself, but then I thought that would be the worst thing I could do because I feel that's what I am. Nick says, are you telling me that you are still, as I'll just boldly put it, a attention SLUT, Megan? And answer me truthfully if you, me being in your life is so important, since I know you are capable of staying truthful to me. You just have to put the effort into doing so, Megan. She says, no, I'm not. I just don't get why guys call me it when I know it's not true. You are important in my life, and I love that you stay by my side no matter what happened. Thanks for not leaving me. Nick says, oh, okay. Well, I was just making sure because that was one thing that did turn me off was the fact that you did cheat on me. I know you were being naive when you did because I know how a Virgo is supposed to be since me being an expert on the zodiac signs. So I know you were being naive. However, if you ever want to be with me, you better be the kind of loyal to me that I was with you when we were together. Remember when there was an ex of mine trying to get in the middle of our relationship? And I sided with you because I wanted the relationship with you to last. That is the same kind of loyalty I deserve from you if you ever was to be my girlfriend again. Megan says, I'm so glad you stayed by my side. I was a naive bitch and I want to be loyal again and be loved by you again. I know and know it will take time. Oh, that was just a typo. I'm so sorry for cheating on you and hurting you. Nick says, no need to say sorry to me. You already did before about this a long time ago. If I wanted you to repeat yourself, believe me, I would have made you, Megan. But that's another thing. I have gotten into a darker sexual activity that I'm not sure you would be able to handle. Since, well, if you were with me, it would be challenging for you to handle that if you weren't into that kind of stuff. Megan says, how do you know I can't handle it? Just wondering. Nick says, I'll just ask you about it and see if you are the kind of woman who could handle it or not. Do you know what BDSM is? Megan says, I get what you were saying. No, I don't. What is it? I sound stupid. Nick says, the B stands for bondage, the D stands for discipline, the S stands for sadism, and the M stands for masochism. If you want me to go into deeper detail, I will, but that is what those stand for as a start. Megan says, oh, thanks for explaining it. If you want to go deeper, you can do it whenever you want. Nick says, first off, do you know what bondage is, Megan? Megan says, no, because I'm stupid. Oh, poor girl. Nick says, before I go any further, Megan, is that one of the big turn-ons about me that you feel attracted to me for is that I am intelligent? Just so I have made that clear with you, if it is true, just answer it truthfully as you know I expect. Megan said, I'm attracted to you. I'm truthfully sorry to say this, but I have to get to bed, got to work tomorrow, and I need rest. Nick says, okay, Megan, but you could have answered my question before you went to bed. Is it because you know I'm intelligent what makes you attracted to me? Answer me quickly so I don't have to wonder about it. Megan says, yes, sorry for not answering you. Nick says, okay, well, if you ever feel like talking tomorrow or something, you can message me again when I am on, or if I am not on, I'll answer you when I can, and I'll pick up on this chat from where we left off if you wish. Megan says, Yes, gonna go and get some rest. Good night. Nick says, night. Wow, looks like that's the one time she managed to not make him mad by staying there and answering long enough while she's trying to go to sleep. Because unlike Nick, she has a job. Two of them from the sound of it and some of the earlier messages. So those messages were August 7th, 2014, and they go like a week without talking. And then on August 15th, 2014, Megan says, hey. Nick says, hi. Megan says, how are you? Nick says, fine. Nick says, TTYL. Megan says, oh, okay. Nick says, K. And that appears to be the end of their messages, friends. Okay, before we move on to the next girl, this is a kind of a weird one. It looks like Nick messaged a page called Burning Desires. I think it was a group. Yeah, it's an a group. And he says, how are you supposed to get bigger if others can't share your content with their significant other? The Burning Desires page says, you should be able to share the content. Nick says, not able to, thanks anyway. They reply again, sir, I am here to help you. You need to share the link. Nick says, some of the pics with words are able to be shared, but the ones that aren't with words tend to be unshareable, since there are pics that I know I'm not the only one who would want to share those pics with significant others, and yet it said they are set to private. Then Nick messages again and says, well, a lot of the pics I know the community would like to be able to share that don't have words, but I am the only one person out of all the people who might ask you about that in the future. And then Nick says, yes, I am above 21 before you ask. Don't worry about it getting in the wrong hands because it won't. The Burning Desires page messages again and says, hi, this is Sexy Cupid, one of the admins for the page. You need to share the page. The pics are set to private for a reason and not to be questioned. You are not allowed to share the pics with a significant other, as they are only shared by the page by one of the admins. If you continue to message the page, I will have one of our other admins deal with this. We don't need this type of harassment on the page. Thank you. Nick says, thanks for the message. Now I see you are a scam. Don't worry, I won't message anymore. I at least know what you are now, and yet you say you were here to help me. Well, thanks for your help. Bye bye. The Burning Desires page says, we as a page are not a scam. This is a weird message to deal with. So long. Then the Burning Desires actually comes back again. A different person says, hold on, I am the owner of the page. Yes, you can share content on the page. I think this person thought that Nick was having trouble posting his own pics to the page, not realizing he wanted to take them out. I'm not sure. Whole thing's strange. And Nick messages them again and says, only scams hide their content from the public as if they can't trust those who like their page in the first place. Sorry, I am not weird. I am serious. And bye. No, I won't answer your next message. And then Nick messaged again and said, you're lying to me. I already tried to send it. And then Burning Desires says again, Nicholas, you still there? And Nick says, you're lying to me, Vixen. I already tried to send your content. And what good does a page like this do if you can't share it with the ones who is dearest to you? Yes, I am here, maybe pissed, but still here. Burning Desires says, I'm not hiding content. I'm trying to fix the problem for you. Burning Desires messages again, Nick, Vixen, and I are the owners. We know this page. Burning Desire says again, pics are meant to be shared. There may be a few you can't because we have gotten them from other pages as well. Burning Desire says, Nick, I just checked our settings. See if you can share now. I don't know why no one is able to share content. Then Nick says, I understand you are trying to prevent underage people from spreading this content out, but I truly believe those who like your page will be able to respect what you said. And just because I try to be loyalist to a page, I'm 24, make it clear to you that I of age you wish to be or above. I'm just angry that you don't trust your people a little more. Yes, I know which ones can't be shared, the ones you upload yourself. I'm aware of it because I always run into the one of those I can't send. Okay, then there's a bunch of insignificant back and forth, but this part is interesting because Burning Desires says, okay, I changed it to 18 and older. I hope that works for you. Vixen. They message him again and say, Nicholas, thank you for giving us a chance to try and fix for you. We want everyone to be happy and have fun. And then Nick messages and says, Well, thank you because you did fix it. I guess that was the problem since we are able to trust each other enough to fix this. My significant other is 18, and that is why she couldn't get it. But I think you set that to the right one. Thanks for helping me. And yes, I am happy. Smile. Okay, this is March 4th, 2014. And he's saying his significant other is 18. Gypsy would have been, I believe, 22 here and then turned 23 in July whenever she got to her birthday. She was nowhere near 18. I found that part funny. And Nick sends him a message and says, I hope you and the rest of the admins have a great day. Sorry for seeming such an angry person earlier. It worked out in the end. And if I have any other questions or concerns, I'll let you or the other admins know. And that was the end between Nick and that page. The next thing we come to someone named Lefay, March 2nd, 2014. Again, just a year and a few months before the murder. Gypsy and Nick have been dating about a year and a half by this time. Hey, Lefay, how you holding up? And then he says again, you're a strong woman. You'll bounce back. I know that's what strong women do. Smile. And she replies and says, yes, probably. Thank you. Heart. Nick says, sure, no problem. Glad to help out, but I notice what is going on. I'm just making a suggestion. I'll leave it up to you. But I noticed that when you were getting reported that it was set to public, why don't you set it to just friends? You know, the pics you post? I'm just making a suggestion, Lefay. Besides, if you do that, you can narrow it down to who is reporting you and solve the problem indefinitely. Nick messages again and says, just trying to be a help, that's all, Lefay. Hope I was a help to you. Lefay says, okay, thank you, heart. Nick says, you're welcome, glad to help, smile. He messages again, same day. Lefay, take it easy. I'll be watching Facebook to make sure a friend is all right, you know, to make sure you are okay. And if I have to speak up again in the future, I'll do it. Heart. Nick messages again and says, Lefay, could you please answer me so I know you know what it feels like to be ignored. So please don't do that to me. And then 2 hours, about 2 hours and 10 minutes later, he messages again and says, you answered me some way, so I am satisfied. And that is the end between them. And then we've got another girl named Maria. Now, this one goes back to 2013. This is May 2013. So we're talking like 7, 8 months after they met on Christian Dating for Free. A girl named Maria messages Nick and says, how are you? Hope everything is good. Smile. We should talk sometime. Nick says, I'm okay, sis. Long time no talk. But yeah, that pic just did catch my attention. And she says, aw, really? Why? I want to talk more, but I should sleep already. Need to wake up early. Please keep in touch, okay? Nick says, yeah, I'll see what I can do, but I don't always have the internet. But when I do, I'll see if we are ever on at the same time, sis. Maria says, or leave me a message, all right? Nick says, yeah, that may do too, true. Maria says, off to sleep now. Nick says, well, if you are going to get some rest, I'll just say good night to you on that side of the world. And she responds with a smile and says, have a good day. And then she sends, miss ya. Nick doesn't respond and she says, hello. And then she says, oops. And then LOL. So that must have been a mistake. Nick says, you are tired. Okay, sis, good night to you on that side of the world. And I hope you get as much beauty sleep as you can. She says, I will. Thank you. She says, you should leave me a message about what's new about you, et cetera, et cetera. Nick says, okay, sis, I'll see. No for sure's, but I'll see. Maria says, leave me your number then. Nick says, LOL, I thought you still had my number, sis. Maria says, no, I don't have. Nick says, well, you used to. What happened to it? She says, I moved to another country, remember? She says, and I lost it. It's on my other phone. Nick says, oh, okay, sis. I'll probably give it to you soon then. But don't worry, no matter what, I'll give it to you. I just hate getting people's hopes up. That's all. Maria says, okay, I'll just leave it now. Tongue face. Nick says, LOL, sis. I'll give it to you now, but on my own time. Besides, you might like it if is more seriously there in a more unexpected time, sis. Okay. That's exactly what she said. Okay, smile. Then Nick messages again and says, Okay, sis. Okay, hey, sis, you should be sleeping. Get your butt to bed. LOL. Tongue face. Okay, sweet dreams and good night to you, sis. She says, okay, night. Smile. And that was on May 23rd, 2013. Then come to 11/23, 2013. 6 months later, to the day, Nick sends a message and says, it's time to move on. I see you took me off the close friends list. And also, apparently, I am not like a brother to you anymore. So it is time for me to move on. Bye. Oh, it looks like Nick lost some friends. Okay. And then we got someone named James that Nick's talking to. Again, this is April 17th, 2013. Nick says, hey, James, I just wanted to say you're posting a lot of good posts today. James says, thanks, man. You post a lot of awesome stuff too. LOL. Nick says, cool, thanks as well. James sends a Y and a smiley face. Oh, Nick says, yeah, where did that Jew post you found? Did you find that? Nick says, I did caught the spot. Nick says, I mean, catch, my bad. James says, LOL smile from one of my friends in USA. Nick says, okay, yeah, because that was one real post there. I hope it was nothing too crazy. God. James says, I got over 1,000 friends and thousands of Occupy friends all over globe is how I get info quick. Smile. Nick says, it sounds helpful. Now I see how you get such good info so quickly. Well, I'll definitely be keeping a look on what you post, man, since I've been loving how real you keep it. James says, smile. Thank you, my friend. Truth is the leader. Love my companion. Everything else follows those too. Smile. Nick says, yeah, man, did you just see that post Anonymous posted? It whoever did that at the marathon definitely seems more professional than people should realize. Oh, are they talking about the Boston bombing marathon? Boston marathon bombing, I meant to say. Yep, 2013 was when that happened. And James says, yeah, I saw it. The accusations were flying everywhere. First, a post showed trying to blame North Korea. An Arab was arrested and the blame was fired at Anon. The truth has a habit of uncovering itself. I'd give it a week before the truth finally arrives. James says, got to go. One of my activist friends just showed up. Nick says, LOL, yeah, I hear ya. Okay, peace then, man. Then Nick says, oh, I thought you had to go, meaning go like somewhere. Damn, sorry about that, man. Nick says again, yeah, man, just thinking so much to pay attention to all the media going on. So I guess you could say I have a lot on my mind. I see that is what you meant after looking at it for a while now. So yeah, James, peace. Nick says, you talking to your friends? That's cool. I'll talk to you when you got time, man. And James sent a smiley face. Nick says, K, peace, man. And that appears to be the end of that. This one totally confused me, friends. January 12th, 2013. Andres messages Nick, hola. Nick replies, hola. And then they have a whole conversation in Spanish. And I'm not sure if Nick knew Spanish or if he was using Google Translate. But yeah, this just really surprised me. I translated some of the messages, and the guy was having trouble with his sister's Facebook account. Someone hacked it. And he was asking Nick for help because Nick was posting things that indicated he was a hacktivist. We have more conversations in Spanish. Okay, I'm going to read one more set of messages between Nick and one of his exes named Caitlyn. But real quick, even though I'm not going to read these right now, I just wanted to point out that Nick had an ex named Aurora. Isn't that strange, friends? Okay, February 4th, 2014. So again, we're like a year and 5 months before the murder. Nick and Gypsy have been together since 2012, both of them continuously cheating, I believe. Nick messages Caitlyn and says, why the hell are you trying to add me? All you ever do is come back into my life and then disappear. I am through with it. So if you aren't going to be a real friend with me and stay in my life, get out. Then Nick says again, and I'll wait until the next time I am online for you to answer. If you don't answer, I'll just delete your request because I am done with the games you played in my head. And because I am, after I delete your request, I am through with you for good. Caitlin says, I'm not going anywhere. Dipshit was controlling every move I made. Now he's in Kansas, and my son and I are in Washington again. Nick says, why the hell are you trying to contact me, though? I was sure you were done contacting me after your last disappearance. You don't make any sense anymore on why you try to stay in touch with me anymore. Caitlin says, I don't know. I just need a friend. Nick says, need a friend. Hey, and it's interesting. I might have kept love for you in me, but that is only because I remember our good times. Otherwise, I would have been through with you a long time ago when you disappear the third time, since that would have been your third strike. Now it is that I am through with it because that is all you ever did. And you say you need a friend. You weren't really a friend to me when you kept disappearing. When a real friend never leaves, I guess that speaks why I am now so much more detached from you. Caitlin says, I know I'm not nearly as descriptive as I used to be, and my words are failing me. Nick says, well, that's your problem. You ruined real love when you kept disappearing on me and making me feel like you were taking me for granted. So, yes, I am done being nice to you. Now I have held in this pain you have caused me for too long, Caitlin. I am fucking through with you and I don't want to hear from you again. May our souls pass away in different times of life. Caitlin says, you don't even want to know what I've been through, Nicholas. You'd never believe me nor care, so whatever. Nick says, I used to care a long time ago, back when I had a through of you being real to me and not taking me for granted. Now it's too late because you have done the damage. And even if you told me I used to always be the one to believe you, however, you know what the difference is. I don't trust you anymore. So, no, duh, I wouldn't believe you now. Oh, he corrects that. I had a through with I had a thought. Caitlin says, I'm fucking homeless. My son is living with my mother. And before I left Kansas, his father threatened to slice my throat. Nick says, welcome to the real world, Caitlin. And it isn't slice your throat, it's slit your throat because it's past tense. And that's the different. And how I knew my love for you used to be the one you should have sticked with, because there was a time I would have took in your son with you even if it wasn't ours, and I would have never threatened to take your life, for that shows how blind you really were in the past. But that is your fault, and I guess that is why I don't feel sorry for you. Caitlin says, let me guess, you more than likely believe I'm a horrible mother because my baby boy isn't with me, right? Nick says, I don't really care to discuss that. That's your choice. You thought that isn't my concern. Just had to make clear what you lost. That's all. Well, bye, Caitlin. Caitlin says, I'm not looking for a man, Nick. I was only looking for a friend. Believe it or not, this time you've never left my mind, but I'm also not as much of a fighter anymore. My fight is reserved to get my son back, a job, and a place. Nick says, it didn't matter to me, Caitlin. That is something you have to realize, that this is the last time we will talk. And because it is, you had to know what you lost. And not that I made that clear. I am deleting your friend request now. Adios. Nick also says, I figure I would be nice enough to let you have your last words before I delete it, because after I delete it, I'm not turning back. And Caitlin says, I'm not going to beg anyone to stay in my life. I'm really fed up with everything, and all anyone expects from me is everything. I can't even have a damn friend who will be there for me. Fuck. What's the point in even trying to reach out to anyone when you always get shot down or rejected? This is just as bad as threatening my life. And Caitlin says, I still remember your weaknesses, but I'm not going to use them with what I want and need, because if you're going to be this hard headed, it's not even worth fighting. I'm just sick of fighting for everything because really, it only affects me, not you, not anyone, just me. I'm giving up the fight. Bye. Nick says, I guess I should say some last words too, Caitlin. I figured you were never going to come back after your last disappearance, so I moved on. And yes, I have someone who truly appreciates me and holds my love up to full value of myself. So I don't feel used or taken for granted, because I did do that as it was the smartest choice I could have ever made. It seems I've found what it is really like to have a twin version of myself. Yes, I am saying I have found my real soulmate because I now understand you understand why I am closing this chapter of my life with you. Caitlin, remember the last words because if I ever meant anything to you after this last time we talk about it would show, even to this day, you are still the most beautiful ex out of all of mine. But it wasn't just about beauty, it was about the kind of person I would be with you always disappearing. There is no way I could continue to feel let down by you. Because of that, this is why I say what I am about to. If you did approach me 5 times ago, to where it would be your third time reappearing looking for a friend, I would have tried to be the one, but you have damaged what we used to be, whether it was friendship related or closer, you damaged it all. So, yes, you did it to us, not me. All I could do is trying to talk to you when you appeared. And because that is all I had in my power to be able to do, Caitlin, even though I do have a little empathy for you, just because of your situation. Sometimes it is hard to walk away from someone who used to mean everything to you, but this is one of those moments, Caitlin. Remember, you used to mean everything to me, and that is why, if you didn't know, yes, even though I am angry, it pains me to say this, but bye. Have a good life. I mean that as sincerely as I can. I wish you didn't do what you did to us, even our friendship, but you did. I guess if you really wanted to stay, I would have seen it. Caitlin says, I had no choice, Nicholas. You'll never understand why. And fuck you for being able to bring these damn tears to my eyes. Nick says, Caitlin, no always says farewell in a good manner because karma will come back at you if you say it like you just did. I know I have always had a way with words. It is part of who I am. Sorry for giving you those tears, but I have always been truthful with you, even when it hurts. I know I said something that touched you soul deep, but it's you how should be blaming yourself. Don't blame me. I only tried at a time to be a friend and a lover to you at the same time, hun. I really mean it. Have a good life. Get your job, get your house, get your son back. I mean it. I really wish you the best, even if I'm not in it. I've always been 90% good and 10% bad. Even when I am mad at you like I am, I'll do what I can to at least heal your pain until we have stopped talking. Caitlin says, just don't read between the lines, please. I'm not mad. Reason I'm tired of fighting is because it's a battle between my heart and mind over matter. Yes, I've loved you all these years. Never once did you slip out of my thoughts. Ugh, my heart belongs in a loony bin. Nick says, well, you have your reasons for why you say things that you do. Have you ever heard about the saying, think only happy thoughts because only happiness wants to be around happiness? Think about that, hun, because if you want to get to your life to get better, you have to be more optimistic. If you really want me to still be your friend, then it's up to you. But this better be the last time you reappear. I'm serious. If you want to preserve our friendship to where it lasts, you better not disappear like that again. Because if you do, I will never give you another chance because you've made me feel as if I have been taken advantage of as it is. And I hate that feeling, Caitlin. So if you really were reaching out to me to be your friend and tell me now or forever hold your peace. Caitlin says, I would love to have you as my friend. I will not disappear again. I am truly sorry for hurting you all those times. Caitlin says, I'll be right back. I've been up for hours and haven't eaten yet. Nick says, last chance, Caitlin. After this, no more. We will see how much you treasure my time in your life soon enough, as time always shows what is the truth. Okay, I'll add you, and then I'll explain this to my significant other as I am used to doing. Caitlin says, that's fine. Waiting for mine to accept his friend's request as well. Sorry, this is a new account. Nick says, I already knew it was a new account. Like you don't realize by well how well I know you. Like, you don't realize by how well I know you that I can tell details about what is going on pretty well. It isn't like I forgot because I never do. Caitlin says, just like, oh my God, I still remember a ton about you. Damn it, no wonder I have a hard time remembering things because my memory is full of stuff about you. Caitlin says, cheetah, Mountain Dew, ugh, yes, favorite colors, etc. Nicholas says, Mountain Dew used to be my favorite, but I don't drink it much anymore. due to how much more I know about soda than I used to, Caitlin. Caitlin says, LOL, especially Mountain Dew. Hey, at least you were flame retardant. LOL. I don't drink soda, but you'll never guess what I do drink. LOL. Nick says, Caitlin, I'm not sure if you should be trying to get me to think dirty because for some reason it's like that type of vibe I feel from you. Caitlin sent him this unsure face sticker and she says, Nope, coffee, tea, water. What the hell do you think I was talking about? Nicholas said, Don't need to answer that. I'll just pass up like I have no clue what we are talking about. LOL. Caitlin says, Nicholas Paul Curry, Godejohn, answer the question. Nick says, LOL, it's embarrassing what you made me thought. Maybe you can just say it, LOL. Caitlin says, Say what? I'm hella lost. Tell me. Nick says, Oh, he says, It's white, maybe golden color, LOL. Ew. Caitlin says, What? Nick says, I gave you a hint of two things by the color of both of them, LOL. Caitlin says, Liquor? Yes. Nick says, No, I was thinking dirty. Don't forget. Y'all, I'm pretty sure this is still their very first day of talking. Let me go back and check. Yes, this is still the very first day. And he's already went there. Anyway, okay, yeah, Nick said, LOL, it's embarrassing what you made me thought. Maybe you can just say it, LOL. And Caitlin says, Say what? I'm hella lost. Tell me. And Nick, give the color, blah, blah, blah. Liquor. Nick says, No, I was thinking dirty. Don't forget. Caitlin says, LOL, ew. No, I don't suck dick. Nick says, No, eat cum. And you used to suck dick. That's sad. It seems you aren't as dirty as I remember anymore. She says she never does that. Says she does suck sometimes, but yeah. Nick says, Well, I figured you were dirty enough to handle that. And yes, I remember your secrets. It's interesting that you trusted me at a time to tell me things you wouldn't tell another guy. And to this day, I still remember him about your past. And don't worry, I won't say anything since I haven't yet. And besides, I have seemingly always been one you can count on the whole time you have known me. Then Nick says, Interesting. Caitlin says, Sorry, I've had too many problems with men lately that sex is generally the last thing on my mind. And Nick says, Caitlin, is that a reason you always come back to me besides you loving me, though? You have always seen me as someone who will never let you down. And Caitlin says, Tequila sounds delicious right now. Nick says, Caitlin, I believe you have something to answer. Caitlin says, Ugh, both. Nick says, It seems I know you too well then. It's okay. I must ask, though, what's with the ugh? I figured you would be okay with admitting those things. Caitlin says, I don't want to upset anyone, Nicholas. Nick says, And what do you mean by that? You might have did it before, but that don't mean that you do it intentionally. At least I don't think you do. Caitlin says, Honestly, I still love you. I'm with a man now who is slightly less compatible. Caitlin says, He wants to get married in 10 years. Nick says, Hun, go with him and see how it goes. I am happy with how I am. With all, I have to wait 2 more years, then I'll get to see her in person. Yes, I may still love you to a point because all we have shared together and now each other is hard to forget someone as close as we were to each other as one time. Hun, something tells me you'll love me maybe until the day you die, just because how I tried to be true to you every time we were together. And yes, I can agree, we were compatible. And I mean, we could argue then and get playful, then argue again, then get sexual. It was just our natural flow. But go with him, see how it goes. If you stay around in my life and keep your word, never disappear, I'll always be your friend. And if I ever was to lose the one I am with, I'll probably still have you in me at that time too. So just take it day by day. And maybe if things don't work out with who we are with, we can always have each other to look to. But if that ever happens, you might remember the me you fell in love with because I have never changed. I'm still that person to this day. That's funny that he's telling this Caitlin lady that he's never changed. And then the first one we were reading, I can't even remember her name now. We've read so many. He was telling her he's changing deeply every 3 months. Caitlin says, I'm listening to You and Tequila by Kenny Chesney. Nick says, yes, well, I just told you what is up though. Caitlin says, I understand that. I'm not disappearing again. Nick says, I feel better after you saying that again. I guess you just needed to keep your word. Then, and Caitlin, remember this. I am actually glad you came back into my life because do you know what you made me think of every time you left like you did? Caitlin says, that I didn't care about you and that I would never look back. That's what Jeff intended. Didn't y'all have an agreement about if he ever thought of harming me? What the fuck? What is she talking about? Jeff intended. Didn't y'all have an agreement about if you ever thought of harming me? Nick says, well, at this point, I would severely injure him after him threatening to do that to you. Since he broke our deal me and him had, yes, I'll maybe even look after you like a brother looks after his little sister if I have to, since we are just that compatible. We can be friends, best friends, BFFs, sister brothers, and even lovers. But yeah, I mean it about severely injuring him, though. Caitlin says, I have done all I can to hold everything in. Nick says, well, then let it all out and don't hold it in, Caitlin. It isn't good to do that. Please let it all out. Okay, Caitlin says, it's like 2.5 years long, Nick. Nick says, I have time to listen. Speak out, Caitlin. You know I have always been your listening ear. Caitlin says, he's the one who got me into smoking cigarettes. He always tried to get me to turn by, constantly pulling up my shirt in front of his female friends, baring my breasts, taking pictures of me nude to show them, forcing me to have sex with him in the women's houses with the doors open, and trying to convince me into letting them touch me. The pushing, grabbing, cornering, unaliving attempts while I was pregnant to avoid me leaving him while he cheated on me and treated me like shit. There's more too. Nick says, don't stop there. I am here to listen to you as I have always been when you let it out to me. If you are going to tell me this, let it all out, hun, please. Once again, this is still the very first day they started talking. Again, Caitlin says, he threatened to leave me for someone, then did. He isolated me from my family and friends, controlled who I talked to, had all my passwords and emails, and knew what each was used for. He took my son and ran away one day when I was just waking up, told me they were going for a walk, left before I could hug or kiss him and tell him that I love him. They came back late that night. After we left for Washington, he threatened to have a gang he's associated with make me disappear where my body would never be found. Once again, I hope this girl, wherever she is has her self-esteem intact. I hope her and her son are safe and happy. Nick says, Caitlin, do you remember a certain secret about me? Nick says, this is important because I would end up being the only one to find you because of it. Caitlin says, which secret? Nick says, so you did forget, I take it. Nick says, I am gifted with something. Caitlin says, half vampire? Nick says, it's not that, Caitlin. I am gifted with psychic abilities. Nick says, so even if you were to disappear, supposedly from the world, I would still be able to find you because I know what your soul's energy feels like. And because I would know the last place your body was before you were to disappear or the last place you had even a heartbeat. Caitlin says, I know, I just can't let this crap happen while I have a child to raise. I want to live a long, full life. And then she says, BRB. Nick says, yes, I understand. And remember, I told you that. So if you ever feel like you are in a doubtful position, I may be the only one who actually may feel even what you are. The only way I really can, though, is if I had a chance to touch your skin. After I have, I can connect myself to you, where even if you are on the other side of the world, I can feel all that you do. Caitlin says, touching me would only bring you pain. Nick says, why you say that? Caitlin says, because you'd be able to feel the fear, pain, loneliness, and anger and sadness radiating from me. Nick says, yes, I might feel that stuff, but the only reason it would bring me pain also is because I can go back into your past and relive the memories you have of those painful moments. Since by me connecting myself to you, I would also be able to see right into your memory too, and not your awakened memory, the part of you that never forgets anything. Yes, the subconscious memory is the part I could go into and truly feel what you did at the time in every detail that would be there. Caitlin says, you might find that funny, but having the gift I do can be as much of a gift as a curse. Remember that before you say such a thing. Caitlin says, meaning be careful because my body's been through hell. Just to embarrass you, I'm still hella tight. LMFAO. Nick says, I see. No comment. Caitlin says, no comment? LOL. Haha, had to. Nick says, you think by me having these psychic gifts is a joke. It isn't. I have seen things that would terrify you if you had to know what it is to truly have such gifts. Caitlin says, actually, if you remembered right, I do have gifts, premonition, and I can see when something good or bad will happen. Nick says, not like I can, though. Caitlin, I have a psychic god soul in me, and it is hell because I can be right when I wish I was wrong. Caitlin says, how do you think I feel when I'm stuck in a deep sleep being forced to see things happen in my mind's eye that's happening right then and there while I'm asleep and I can't do anything to stop what's happening? Nick says, let's just say being able to witness in more than one dimension of all everyone's suffering in ways that would make me scream as if I was having a nightmare at night. But when the truth is, at times, my soul is forced to see things that is true hell on earth. Caitlin says, I can understand. The hell? Oh my God. Okay, this one's getting long too, friends. So I'm going to cut off here and edit. We'll go out with a palate cleanser. Let me know what y'all think in the comments.